And hello everybody, I'm Richard Gon of Work to Live podcast version. And to start with, I'm really exhausted and I'm really tired from. So what am I? If you have a question, for example, what am I tired from? And if you'd like to, or what made, and if you'd like to ask me, for example, what made me get tired. If you'd like to ask me such a question. And what made me tired? Get tired from tired from can be fine, but actually what made me tired from get tired from can be a better question, in terms of the grammar of English language. Anyway, so I can it's possible to answer really easily, and of course so I have not been busy last week, but actually, so anyway, so I had been busy month. I had been deadly busy in last month or months before, but actually recently, so the recent cause of my getting tired or of my getting exhausted is, or my how should I say, I forgot how to call that situation. Lethargy. The cause of my lethargy is that it's really hot. It's really hot. The temperature is really hot, which I think is the cause of my bodily condition, and so my body hasn't diminished, but actually the size of my body is fine, but actually as always I don't tell you, maybe I shouldn't tell you how I look, because I may get identified, but actually which means I'm not extremely fat, and I'm not extremely fat, but actually I'm not emaciated, or I'm not extremely thin, and my body is maybe my body size is really normal in this country. And by the way, so I live in Japan, and anyway, so I should tell you the title and conclusion of this episode. And if you'd like to spend your own time, for more precious purpose, for example, if you'd like to study, for example, in English, you shouldn't listen to this episode, and you shouldn't listen to my podcast. And instead, I'd like to recommend, for example, I'd like to recommend that you listen to, for example, other podcasts, or other channels of podcast, or other YouTube videos for studying English language. And some people say that watching television dramas is fine, not but is there is a B verb, and I made a mistake in the conjugation of B verb, and watching television dramas of English language is fine. Some people say so, but actually, so anyway, please choose what you want for studying English language. But actually, I don't recommend this podcast. And I haven't thought that I haven't told you the title of this, and I haven't told you the title and the conclusion of this episode anyway. So the title is Heat Yourselves, Use the Heat Waves and Porn Videos. And the conclusion is, anyway, please be careful of the summary heat waves. And maybe, I'm recording this episode in the end of July in 2023. And, the situation is that, the outside the temperature of the outside is the same as that of your body, or those of your bodies. Meaning, so if you have a fever, for example, or if you have caught a cold, and you have got a fever, please imagine such a situation, and your body temperature is, for example, 37 Celsius degree or 37 degree, for example, and the outside is the same temperature, which is a condition, or which is a situation of this time anyway. So the bodily temperature is the same as those of atmosphere, or those of climates, which is a situation of the recent summers, which means this year it's extremely hot, and last year it was extremely hot, and the temperature is the same as your bodily temperature, which is an event which took place, which has taken place frequently, and but actually, so which is why, so you need to be careful of these hot weathers, and wherever you're living, and if you live in, for example, if you live in some country in southern hemisphere, and for example, in Australia it's winter, and but actually, the next summer comes as always, which means, so you have to be careful of the heat waves, or of the hot weather. I don't know the condition of the ordinary summer in the countries of South Hemispheres. So I don't know whether the hot weather is harsh or not in for example, in Australia, or in New Zealand, or in Republic of South Africa. Maybe in African countries it must be hot, I think. And by the way, I'm using this room, and this room has an air conditioning system, but it works properly. But actually, for the conservation of electricity, or for electricity is not free. So which is why, so I need to start with, and people need to be concerned about the ecosystem, or people need to consider the ecosystem, and they need to try to reduce the waste of using electricity, or the waste of electricity is what we need to avoid, which is what I'm saying, and which is what I'm doing is, I'm not using that air conditioning system, and which is because I'd like to avoid extra payments of the electricity in my residence. So which is why, so I'm not using the air conditioning system in this recording place. But actually, so it's hot. So maybe if you're a student, you may be you may be enjoying summer vacations, and so which is why, so some of you may be watching porn videos. So which is why, so I wrote that title, and heat yourselves with the heat waves of this time, or porn videos, and some of men have collections of porn videos, and I have some collections of porn videos, and for those people, what they have to, and including me, or what we have to be worried about is the limit of the storage of hard disk drives, and meaning that recently, so the limit of hard disk drives, or external hard disk drives are, for example, 2 terabytes or 4 terabytes. They are the limits of of the storages and maybe there must be some storage devices having having larger capacities, and the capacities are 2 terabytes or 4 terabytes. Wait a moment, please. No. I made a mistake in the pronunciation of Evander, so terabytes, which means the capacities, essentially the capacities of the hard disk drives are 2 terabytes or 4 terabytes. I made a mistake in the use of Evander, and I pronounced tera, which means TLA, but actually the pronunciation was wrong, and my mother tongue doesn't distinguish the difference between L and R, so which is why I made a mistake. And the correct pronunciation is TERA, which means tera. And anyway, when it comes to storing, when it comes to storing or preserving, or when it comes to creating collections of porn videos, you need to be worried about the capacities of hard disk drives. And if in the case of boys or men, they need to be worried about the capacities of the hard disk drives they have, or the external hard disk drives they have. If you store porn videos in, or if you save your own porn videos in the hard disk drives attached into your own computers, so I recommend that you use external hard disk drives, and for connecting with cords or other devices. It's possible to connect maybe I don't know. I'm not a tech savvy, but actually for example using Wi-Fi, or I don't know whether there are some storage devices connected through Bluetooth. Anyway, so if you'd like to heat yourselves, so when it comes to going outside for heating yourselves with the hot weathers or heat waves, you need to be careful of your own bodily conditions, because you may this is an extremely case, but actually you may die outside because of the hot weather or because of the heat waves. And if you'd like to heat yourselves with porn videos, and you need to use the air conditioning systems for cooling, for keeping your body, for example, keeping your body in moderate temperatures, or keeping yourselves cooled down for when it comes to heating yourself by watching porn videos. And this is all the stuff I'd like you to know this time. And this is just a waste of time for you, at least. So the title and the conclusion is, wait a moment please, heat yourselves with the heat waves and porn videos. And the conclusion is, anyway, please be careful of the summery heat waves. And I think in the next summer, I mean in the summer in next year, it's going to be as hot as this year is. It's going to be as hot as the summer of this year. I'm sorry for my broken English. The summer in the next year is going to be as hot as that of this year, which is what I'm saying, and which is I think you can easily understand the situation, the recent years of hot summers anyway. So that's it. And if you have finished listening to this episode, you should spend your own time for more precious stuff. For example, you should study English, for example, if you are non-native speakers of English language, and if you are Americans, you should study, for example, Spanish languages, or you should study Spanish language or other things, for example, mathematics. And if you are a student, and if you are grown-ups, for example, you should raise yourselves. You should raise your own skills for works. And that's it. Thank you very much for listening. See you.